All right, take two. Welcome to the quadruple D. So, Tom Jandron, a Libertarian Senate candidate in Montana, says he wants to make a point about war and political accountability in a very direct way. A retired member of the Montana National Guard who served in Afghanistan, he's using his campaign to criticize U.S. foreign policy and the politicians who support military intervention. So, from an anti-war perspective, his proposal is like a broader critique. Those who advocate for war rarely face its consequences themselves. And Jandron said on X, I'm running for US Senate. If elected, the first bill I introduce will draft Lindsey Graham into any conflict he publicly supports while in office. So, this is happening right at a time when Lindsey Graham was caught in photograph form at Disney World. And Lindsey Graham is somebody who's all in favor of us being in Iran, kicking some ass, and just dropping bombs all over the place, bombing the place to bits, murdering their citizens over there, and all that fun stuff. And here he is, having a fun little excursion at Disneyland. You have to wonder, did he get to meet, or Disney World, I should say, but did he get to meet Mickey Mouse? Did he eat some cotton candy? Did he go on rides? All of that kind of stuff. And, it's safe to say that he has not experienced hell on earth while at Disney World. At least you would think. It's a fun little vacation spot. People go there all the time, and most people seem to have an all right time, even if they're not huge Disney fans. So while the idea is symbolic and not legally feasible, it echoes a long standing anti war argument. Historically, U.S. wars have disproportionately affected working class people, especially through systems like the draft during the Vietnam War. And wealthier and politically connected individuals have often avoided frontline service, which has fueled resentment and protest movements. That's one of the main arguments that you get from a lot of these critics, that the people in power who are promoting these wars the most, why aren't they on the front lines? Why aren't they signed up to do this? And I'm not trying to say that I'm endorsing this Tom Jandron guy. For all I know, he's got rotten views overall. I'm not really using this as a way to endorse his candidacy or anything like that. But obviously, I think he has an interesting point. His comments are, aimed at Senator Lindsey Graham, who is a pathetic Republican from South Carolina, known for supporting military intervention abroad. And military intervention is a cute way of saying, blowing people to bits and ruining their lives and feeding the war machine, being a part of the military industrial prison complex, and all that stuff. So, Graham backed recent US and Israeli strikes on Iran following the collapse of nuclear negotiations, and those negotiations relate to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the JCPOA, a 2015 agreement that limited Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. And the US withdrew from the deal in 2018, which escalated tensions between the United States and Iran, and really in areas, throughout the world, in the region. And Graham has also suggested targeting Iran's Karg Island, a key oil export terminal that handles a large portion of the country's petroleum shipments. Disrupting that infrastructure would have major global economic consequences, potentially affecting oil prices worldwide, and I think it already has. And it's escalating into a broader regional war, and that's something that anti-war activists have consistently warned against. And even within his own party, Graham has faced pushback. Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina criticized him as Washington's war machine, and she's terrible herself, let me tell you. And, there's a divide among Republicans over foreign policy. And, there's a wider debate in U.S. politics between so called interventionists and those who favor a more restrained or isolationist approach. And keep in mind that Trump himself, in the past, said that he was, against the Iran war. And in fact, he warned us that Hillary Clinton and, the Kamala Harris presidency would lead to war with Iran. But guess what? He is no longer an isolationist. He is the one who brought us to war with Iran. And gee, I wonder why. It couldn't be because he's so closely tied financially with Israel and Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. Oh no. That's a thing that a lot of people should look into. The fact that Trump is one of the most corrupt presidents that one could possibly imagine. And recently, Graham kind of moderated his tone. He's kind of gone back and forth between being totally bloodthirsty and only a little bit bloodthirsty. But he said that if diplomacy can achieve these objectives, I would not only support it, but I would also prefer it because war literally is hell. And, the hypocrisy is just off the charts, of course, because, well, here he is, acknowledging that war is hell, yet he's never been on the front lines, yet he's one of the biggest war hawks. I know he does have some sort of military career, but he never fought in a battle. And these cycles of escalation and negotiation, they they show you that centralized states like to wage war with little direct input from ordinary people, and decisions about military action are typically made by political elites, often without a formal declaration of war by Congress, as required by the U.S. Constitution. So this war is like extra illegal in addition to you know, the mounting war crimes that are certainly underway. So, since World War II, most major U.S. military actions have relied on authorizations or executive power rather than declarations of war from Congress. So, most of the wars or war actions we have undertaken are at least mostly illegal.